Okay, so hello, welcome back to Good Monday's Coins and Banknotes, and today we are talking about the coins of Sri Lanka. So, I do like to collect these coins, but the design is actually a little bit boring. It's not as well designed as the mother country, or at the time, which was the United Kingdom, who actually controlled the place. So they had a lot of different coinage designs, which these ones are actually quite simple. I believe that they were simple, or this is my hypothesis, is to save costs on designing coins. So you just make the one design, you just adapt it for different denominations. And also, the United Kingdom had all these colonies to pretty much drain it of resources and to ship it back to the United Kingdom. That's basically what they were there for. Now Australia and Canada are a bit different because readily we had a lot of immigrants from Europe. So they changed the dynamics. Instead of having a large indigenous population, in which we were treated differently, because I'm in Australia. So we had a lot more independence than these places, especially in economic affairs. So anyway, and talking about that, in 1917 they removed some of the silver content of their coinage. So this coin is 80% silver and these two are only 55% silver. Now they didn't change the base metal coins because there's no point, but the Second World War actually changed that dynamic, because this is where they actually removed all the silver from the coinage, and that's pretty much. A lot of these silver coins are probably just melted and shipped back to the United Kingdom to pay for the war effort. So we'll go through the actual denomination. So in the earlier period we had 4 base metal coins and we had 3 silver coins. So the quarter cent, which was the smallest coin issued, probably equivalent to a quarter farthing, and actually probably half farthing. And that's what they were. They did issue a half farthing in Ceylon, and that was never legal tender in the United Kingdom because it's just too small value. But these were last minted in 1904, so really that was removed from circulation by the 1940s. And the half cent was last minted in 1940, so I'm assuming that these were just left to drop out of circulation, and this was equivalent to a farthing in the United Kingdom, or so 1p piece in India, roughly like that. So these ones are probably also removed, and they are copper. So really in the 1940s you just had these 5 denominations in circulation. So what they done, the first thing they done is one of the first things, I'm going to go through denomination and not date because this happened over a 1942 to 44 time period. They reduce the size of the actual 1 cent coin. So here on the side you can see the thickness of these coins. So the thick one is 1.47 millimeters, and the smaller one is 0.87 millimeters. So that's a reduction, and the weight was reduced from 4.64 grams to 2.36 grams. So they pretty much reduced the weight by half. They kept the design, and the major difference to tell between these, I made in the other video, is the position of the R down below under the effigy. So on the smaller coin, smaller weight coin, the R is after the effigy. On the larger coin, the R is right at the bottom, so it should be in between the tip of the effigy. So that's how you tell the difference. Yeah, because you're not really going to get photos of the actual side of the coin. So you just get the reverse and the obverse. So the obverse of these coins always have the reigning monarch's head. Okay, so that's the first change, and they kept that until 1962 because in 1945 the coins were issued as a frozen date coin. So I'm not too sure why they didn't change the date or even issued Elizabeth II coins, but they just didn't. And the 1942 We don't know the mintage of those, but the mintage of the fit coin is 20,780,000, so I'll divide that up with the Venom fit coin. Okay, the other two date-to-date issues is 1943. This one had 43,708,000. So, and then we have this 1945, which was restruck until 1962 as a frozen date. Had a mintage of 34,100,000. So this one's more common. So that's probably why they didn't issue as many coins in this denomination, because they didn't need it to fill the actual void in the market. And as you can see, these ones you can get pretty much uncirculated, probably about $5. Okay, so that's those coins. Now the next thing they done was with the 5-cent coin. Actually, before that, they did issue a 2-cent coin in 1944. So that is a scallop shaped coin. This is a 1955 coin, because I don't have the 1944, but that had a mintage about 30,165,000. And it's made out of nickel brass, and this will be reflected in the other coins. So all the other coins are pretty much nickel brass as well. So that removes a lot of the nickel from the coinage, because nickel is copper, zinc and nickel, so that the brass is the copper and zinc. So they, because nickel was more important for the war effort, then they issued 1951, and they issued 15 million, and this coin was issued 1955 and 57. So this one had a mintage of 37,131,000. 1937, 38 million, not 1937, 1957, 38,200,000. And this is the only coin with the effigy of Queen Elizabeth II. So I'm not too sure why this wasn't a frozen date at all. It's just really confusing, these coins, because I can't find that much information about these coins at the time. Although Sri Lanka was going through a turbulent time, so it's a bit confusing. There's probably a large contingent wanted independence, and another contingent that wanted to remain part of the United Kingdom. Okay, in 1942, they issued a square nickel brass coin, same denomination, in the 5-cent, and the design was similar. The only thing they done was change the metal. So the 5-cent was last issued copper nickel in 1926. So they never issued any copper nickel with George VI, or although if they did, it would be an error coin. So there is 1942, 43, 44 and 45. The 45 is the frozen date issue. So here we have the 1942, the other coin is 1944. So 1942, the mintage of 12.7 million, and the 1944 had a mintage of 18,640,000. So the 1944-45 thin planchette, you can see the thickness there. So the weight was initially 3.85 grams, and in 1944 they changed it to 3.24. So roughly they reduced the thickness by probably just a few tenths of a millimeter. So it's 1.71 millimeters in thickness, and probably reduce that to 1.6. Okay, so that's the next change actually made in the coinage. Okay, the 10-cent coin, they changed to a scallop shaped nickel brass. That's in 1944. This is the last silver coin to actually be changed. But before this, in apparently the silver coins are demonetized. So in the coin set from 1971, we have that the silver coins were, so 50 cent was demonetized 30 September 1942. So really they had a year in which they had no 50 cent coins. The 25 cent is demonetized in 1942 at the same. So really for and they issued nickel brass 1943. So there's a year that they had no 10-cent coins, 25-cent coins should I say. 10-cent coin was demonetized 20th of February 1943. So it really is also another year that they had no 10-cent coins. So really, they did issue banknotes at the time. So a 5, 10, 25, 50-cent banknote was issued, and they would have made up the denominations in circulation. So really, 1942 to 43, these coins were the only ones in circulation, and these ones are taken out and are replaced by the nickel brass. So here's an uncirculated version from 1944, and there should be no reason why you can't get this coin. 1944 mintage of 30,050,000, 500,000 should I say. And then there's a 1951 with 34,760,000. That was minted up until 1962. And these ones were minted probably in Kolkata because the reading on the side looks similar to those on Indian coins. Okay, so then we have the 25-cent denomination. You can see the 10-cent, the silver and these nickel brass, a difference in size. We have the 25-cent, which is similar in size to the silver coin, as well as the 50-cent, which is also similar in size to the 50-cent coin. And these are both issued in 1943. So the 1943 25-cent coin had 13,920,000, and in this condition only worth a few dollars. Then we have the 1951 issue, which was a frozen date, has a mintage of 25,940,000. So I have both of these issues here. Then we have the 50-cent coin, which is a 1943 of 8.6 billion. So, but you can still get these pretty much uncirculated. And 1951 frozen date to 1962 with 19,980,000. So that indicates that these circulated still quite a long period of time, and also there wasn't as much inflation during this time period in Sri Lanka, not like the current period. So here we have this side. So this one is readed, this one is security readed. So more intricate reading. And the weight went from 5.8 grams for the silver coin to 5.54 grams for the nickel brass. And for the 25-cent coin, the silver coin is just slightly smaller. As you can see, it's readed and security readed. If you don't know what they are, you can look them up. So there was a 1mm change in diameter, so this one's 18 millimeters and this one's 19, and they changed the design as well. Although I don't know who the designer of these coins are. Most of it's in English. Then you got Tamil and Sinhalese on the front for the denomination, but they still had the effigy of the monarch. So basically, what would you be paying for the coins issued without the silver? Well, I would just pay probably a few dollars. Personally, I would just pay $1 or $2 for each of these coins. So really, $6-10 for the whole set. But that being eBay, you're not going to get them for that. You're probably paying at least $4 to $5 per coin. So basically, how I got these, I'll buy bulk lots of Sri Lankan coins. I divide them, take the ones that I want, ones that are not in my collection, and then I just sell the rest as a bulk lot. Now in 1957 they did issue a copper nickel 1 rupee. That's the first coin that Sri Lanka issued after the Second World War. And before it became a republic without the monarchy, and it celebrated 2,500 years of Buddhism. And then in 1963 they removed the actual monarch from all these coins, so they just issued coins with the coat of arms. So I hope this helps you with your Sri Lankan coins. It's actually quite nice. Sri Lanka is quite an interesting place, and also they issued a lot of idle coins. So this is a coin from 1200 issued in the name of, let me get her name up. Okay, just had a quick look. This is a guy, a king of Sahasa Mala, who reigned from 1200 to 1202, but apparently during the later period, his relation, which I'm not too sure on, and his successor, should I say, was Kalyanavati. And these coins are probably issued under her reign, just to legitimise her rule, because female monarchs are not that popular because of the patriarchy. And this is Octopus Man, supposed to be the king with a, is it dhoti or a male clothing, but it looks like an octopus. And this looks like he's sitting down with his clothing, but it looks like he's dancing. Anyway, this one has the name of the actual monarch on it. So, hope this helps you with your Sri Lankan coins. If not, let me know and I can help you out a lot more. Thank you very much. Have an awesome coin and banknote collecting time, and take care.